So there's no intro to this video. I jumped right in to start removing the body panels. Here's the rear clam coming off. Then I wheeled it in and just sat there and worked on it. I put masking tape at a bunch of the lines so that when I reassemble, I'll make sure that everything's lined up. Everything's held on by a few screws, nuts and bolts, and rivets. There's no manual, so you just kind of have to figure it out as you go along. I did a factory pre-fit, which means the factory went ahead and aligned all the body panels so the front and rear parts can open and close properly, as well as the doors, and ensured all the panel gaps were perfect. And I've heard that that's probably one of the best options you can do as far as saving yourself some time. All right, so we've got a bare chassis now. Just mocking up these pedals right here. I've got the steering rack because there is a steering rod that goes through here and up into a panel that will sit right here. And I have to make sure that my pedal clearance for my Tiltons are going to be good enough to not run into that steering shaft as I'm driving. So like I said, all this needs to be cut out. All those three, if it'll focus there, those three little metal pieces, that needs to come out. Probably some of that bar needs to come out. And then this will go and be put in its place, so I can get all the braking power. So that's what's going on. But before I can have my welder do any of that, I have to dive into these panel boxes. I'm going to coat them with some second skin audio. It's like this viscoelastic polymer that's a sound deadener. So that's going to go on each of the panels for inside the car. Right here is the first panel that will be done. And I'm going to do the inside of the panels in second skin, and I'll probably test them out to see what sort of noise they make after being tapped on with, you know, a piece of metal, to see how much of the resonance it takes out of them. So let's get that started. All right, so this is where I'm currently at. Got the chassis flipped upside down to do some paneling on the bottom. And as you can see, I've got the rear interior panel on here. I've got the side panels on. Go up under here, take a look at it. Got the holes drilled for the cable shifters and the e-brake cables. There's the clutch dead pedal, and here is all the metal that I've cut out. You can see it's not the most beautiful thing, but this will all be wrapped up by aluminum panels, and the most important part is that it's really strong. So what we went ahead and did was had to cut out this part of the original chassis square tubing. It looks to be 1/8 inch wall tubing, square tubing, and you can see that it used to run the length of this. So we had to cut that out, and then right here is 1/4 inch solid plate that was welded in. So it's got 1/16 of an inch thick stainless steel floor that was welded in all right here, and then a second plate welded on the other side of this so that I could bolt the pedals to it. And then so it's that, and then we've got 1/4 inch here, and then there's also the 1/8 inch that was left from the original tube, the bottom of the tube. So it's almost 1/2 inch thick steel that runs all the way across right there. And then the pedals, like I said, are gonna bolt to right here. So one of the big problems is the pedals, the master cylinders, have to start on this side instead of the other side like the stock setup. So instead of having a gigantic rectangle right here, I'm actually going to try to fab up a piece of aluminum plate that will sit on this side instead of the other side so that I can put the pedals on them. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's the pedal assembly as it sits, and like I said, this is going to butt up against the new panel that I need to make. So I need to take these master cylinders off, and then I'm going to have to make a plate that sits sort of rectangular right around here, and then I will bolt up the master cylinders and sandwich this piece between the plate that I make so that it's sealed off from the outside. And then you can see this is the part that was cut out from the car, and originally this sits here, and then these little metal pieces this is where the stock pedals sort of pivot on, and then the master cylinders bolt up to each side of that. So that was all cut out, and then I'm gonna have to make a new plate that fits right here. So I'm gonna use a triangular piece that I had cut out from the floor that used to be, this has been replaced with stainless steel on the car now. So I gotta do that. And then here is how the panels sit right now. It's a little bit dirty from some excess sealant that needs to dry. I sealed these panels with, what is it called? Some 3M marine sealer, 5200. Apparently this stuff is strong enough to hold the transom on a boat after the engines have been unbolted. So the stuff's extremely strong. The only thing is that it takes forever for it to dry. I did this like over 12 hours ago, and it's still pretty tacky. So the problem right now is I'm just sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting for things to dry. So hopefully the build after this will go a lot quicker so that I'm not sitting here waiting for things to cure. So other than that, it's just bolting things up from now on. But famous last words is me saying it's gonna be easy from here on out. All right, my drilling and cutting, it worked. Got everything fitted nicely. This is just clamped in here right now, but looks perfect. Very happy with it. Simple, effective, exactly what I want. You can see on the other side here, got my master cylinders peeking out. See if I can get a better angle for you. There we go. Everything right on the plate, weather sealed. And then the other plate that is gonna go on the other side of this is all drilled out and ready for it, but I'm gonna have to cut out this part of that plate, but it'll be fine. So I'll have one plate on this side and then this plate on this side. So pedals are 90% there. I just have to bolt them in. All right, so here it is, how it sits. Obviously the chassis is upside down. I've got some etching primer on what was the bare aluminum plates. I didn't do too much filming of the paneling, but it's pretty straightforward. Just a lot of holes, a lot of rivets, a lot of bond and seal on your hands if you're not wearing any gloves, which is quite the pain, and it just stays there. There's no getting it off unless you want to use paint thinner or brake fluid. But definitely a really time-consuming process. For every one of these holes, there is a hole drilled in the aluminum panel, and then it's deburred. Then you use the panel as a template on the chassis, then drill the holes on the chassis, then deburr those. So every time you see one rivet, there's 3 steps that it took to get there. And these are the easiest panels because these are pretty much just a direct fit, but the ones on the side of the chassis, you can see underneath the masking, this right here is a panel. It's actually covered in sound deadener, but those you have to actually fit. You have to clearance them on the roll cage or the chassis, I guess, and then do the whole rivet process. I've got that rear one installed. The one that butts up against the engine compartment, that is actually sitting on the side. It's been clearanced and cut out, but I just need to drill the holes. And then these holes, correct me if I'm wrong, people that have built an Ultima before, but I'm not gonna rivet this top bar or the plate to this top bar because of the plate that goes from here to the top. The part that's actually coated with the orange gel coat and everything, because if I do it now, then I assume that I have to drill out all these rivets again, which is exactly the same as this panel up here that I've got going up there. That's like the firewall panel, but those I didn't rivet that either because I riveted some of it, but not all the ones on the top. There's a little bit of bond and seal coming out of there, but I didn't rivet that because the body actually sits right on there. So I've seen some of the builds where they don't rivet that full panel. So anyone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Another cool thing that happened today is I got my clutch delivered from RPS Performance. It's a triple carbon clutch. I'll go ahead and pull that out of the box and show you guys. But before that, I'd actually like all of your opinion on what color I should do my headers in. So I have these samples. These are Cerakote samples, and it's kind of tough to tell online the exact color that everything is, but here are the samples that I got, and they're on the actual header, and you all can tell me what you think. This first one is called Burnt Bronze. The second one is Glacier Silver. This one's Titanium, and this one's Glacier Titanium. So I'm not really sure which one I'm going to go for. I like all of them, so I'm not going to be disappointed with any color, but I definitely need to coat these headers. And I saw my original first main choice was the Burnt Bronze. There was a video online of a guy, he did his Z06 headers in that color, and I thought it looked awesome. And I thought that this would kind of look good if when opening the clam, you know, kind of the contrast against the orange and then this burnt bronze color. I thought that that would look pretty cool. But then this glacier silver looks awesome. The way the light hits it, it just looks really, really cool. So I don't know. And then the titanium, the two titanium colors are a little more, I guess, classic looking. These two kind of jump out at you, but the titanium and the glacier titanium look pretty classic and sort of a safe neutral color that everyone would probably like. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll probably go with, you know, popular opinion on this and order up a pint, which should be enough hopefully to cover the whole exhaust. So again, let me know, and we'll go from there. So here's the clutch that arrived today. Like I said, it's made by RPS. They're out in California, and they custom made this for me to fit on the back of a GM motor. So it's got an 8-bolt flywheel, and then 3 sets of carbon discs for the friction compound. You can see billet steel flywheel. It's been balanced, you could tell. And then let's see, I took these screws out before starting the camera so as not to bore you guys with that. But here is the throwout bearing on a Porsche style clutch. It uses a pull type release. There's a fork in the transmission that grabs this, and then the slave cylinder pushes against that and it pulls this out, instead of a typical slave cylinder that sits right there and pushes in. So I'm going to take this apart and show you guys what this is all made of. All this is awesome quality. And then as you take it apart, you can see there's different numbers as the stages go along. So here's number 8, and then we've got one of the discs, number 7. You can see this is all like really high quality stuff. These are all completely rebuildable, these clutches. So here's number 6, and then we've got middle disc number 5. We've got the ring starter gear right here, and then we've got number 3, number 2. So it's really important that all this is put together in exactly the way that it came. Everything's balanced, and in the instructions they go into a lot of detail and make sure that you absolutely know to assemble it with all the orange marker or paint pen that they use. All the orange needs to line up, and all the numbers need to be in order so that you can have a good performing clutch. And RPS, like, they make all kinds of stuff for the top high horsepower cars. I originally had one of these in my Gen 5 Viper. They have a company called Nth Moto. That's the one that distributes them for RPS. They're used on all the Calvo twin turbo cars that you see on YouTube and the Nth Moto cars on YouTube. They have also a quad carbon clutch. The triple carbon holds 1,500 pound-feet of torque. I think the quad carbon holds over 2,000. But these clutches drive like a Honda Civic. You would think that this carbon material would be really like sort of on off with your foot, and not a very gradual, easily modulated clutch, but it's definitely the opposite. These things are extremely drivable, and they just, like I said with my Viper, they just turned it into driving like an economy car. It was really amazing. And the shifts are really quick because the carbon although it doesn't drive like it's on off, it acts like that when you want to do fast shifts. So it was far and away better than the stock clutch on my Viper. So I'm really looking forward to using this in the Ultima. Everything's a lot lighter weight than a stock GM clutch. This is a smaller diameter than the stock GM clutch. Like the bell housing on a GM car is much bigger. So the inertia on this should make it for a quicker revving engine. Usually you need to worry about, with a lighter weight flywheel, you need to worry about initial takeoff. There's not too much inertia built up in the spinning flywheel to give you a smooth takeoff, but I don't see that being a problem in such a light car like an Ultima. So we'll have to box this up until the car is ready to have its engine fitted, which won't be anytime soon, but I'm really looking forward to driving this thing. So thanks for checking it out. All right, so I'm ready to spray the undercoating of the car. I've got the chassis kind of propped up on the dolly in a pretty cool way right here, which will help spray it evenly. I'm spraying Raptor liner. It's a bed coating, pretty tough polyurethane. I mix 8 ounces of hardener into, I believe it's like a quart size spray jug, and then we'll see how far that gets me, but there's 3 bottles in there. I should have plenty for this whole bottom area. So let's get this going. All right, so I'm back at it. Here's the car, right side up again after putting on the Raptor liner. You can see I've got that Tilton pedal box in there, all bolted in, ready to go. Got the accelerator pedal, perfect. No binding, no interference from any of the chassis tubes. Here's the brake pedal. I measured and it will clear the steering shaft that goes right into here. You can see the panel that I cut out right there and the master cylinders going through there. Everything looks perfect. I just have to do some of the double skin panels and then I'm completely done paneling. And then I'm going to do some heat insulation from the panel that sits here. I'm going to put this product here. It's a foam from Second Skin Audio called Megazorb, and they have a demonstration of this with it seems to be like an aluminum backing, and they have a heat lamp on one side, and on the other side it's room temperature, and then the hot side it's much hotter. So they say this stuff is really good as far as insulation. If you want to go on Rob 105's channel, he'll give you a whole tutorial and scientific breakdown of how different insulation works, but I'm not that advanced. I just know this stuff is really good. So I'm going to cut it to length, put it in there, put that panel on, not secure the top rivets because there's an additional panel that needs to go here, but that's where I'm sitting right now. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. I hope you got some good insight as to what it takes to, I guess, take one of these things apart before putting it back together with the body removal and the first steps like the paneling and the Raptor liner and the pedal assembly that I did that was a little bit outside the box, but I think will really add to the drivability of the car. Hope you enjoyed the clutch. Please, like I said earlier, leave a comment down below so you can let me know what color you think looks best for the exhaust. Then I'll probably talk about that in the next video and discuss that. So with that being said, please like and subscribe and check out the next videos. Thanks.